Hello everybody and welcome to another Warleader PvMP video. Today we have 1 versus 1s galore, so we're gonna have a good time with this. Alright, before we start off, and so that we have time to scroll through all the names of people that I fight, I do want to mention this is update 5.1 and talk a little bit about what happened with Monster Play in 5.1. The big thing was that in the patch notes it said, and I quote, "Fixed a bug caused by adjustments to the creep armor values. Creep armor has been increased and mitigations are now returned to their original values. Note you will see plus or minus 1% due to rounding." Basically, armor values went up by 1 to 2%, the bug was not fixed, and the leading theory right now is that they added some extra armor value, thought they fixed the bug, and the bug really wasn't fixed. So mitigation values are better than they were, but they're still not where they're supposed to be. And apparently, it's not just tactical mitigation that's off, it's all the mitigations except for common and maybe shadow. And so, yeah. Freeps are hitting a lot harder than they're supposed to be right now, across the board, and it's really bad if you're on a class that has a lot lighter armor than a Warleader, because you really feel like Swiss cheese, and you don't have the health pool of a Warleader to stay alive at all, so, yeah. Still, the armor boost has helped out a lot, and it has made some of the matchups that were previously untenable at least approachable for some of the other classes out there and such. So, without further ado, let's get to this. Alright, first match, I pick out a champion. He'd done some fighting against one or two other guys at our impromptu 1v1 circle, so go ahead and start off the engagement. Alright, I went ahead and did Black Speech first because I wanted some extra damage. Go ahead and drop my command post now because I want to get that buff going ASAP. And away we are. Right now I'm just waiting for enough of a gap on my health pool to fire off my Crack the Whip. And it should be right there. And now I'm just going to go at it. He blew his horn, was totally out of range and stuff. I don't know if he's expecting me to come charging at him or something, but complete waste of his stun. I'm also paying attention to how much he's hitting me, and I see that he's got controlled burn up, but I also see he's just not doing a lot of damage. And the other thing is that I'm just outmaneuvering this guy, so I don't even bother with my Banner of Terror. I'm just going to keep that in reserve right now, and I'm just going to beat him down by outmaneuvering him and using the command post, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to bother getting out of Brawler stance. I'm not going to leave RF command. I'm just going to tear this guy apart. As you can see, he's letting me get right behind him. I get on his back. He blows AoEs when I'm doing that because he's just not doing well enough with his mouse turning and such to be able to keep me in front of him. And I'm keeping his back in front of me instead, which is just horrible for a champion. You're not hitting the guy. He wouldn't have any avoidances anyway, but it's just a nightmare. Alright, keeping count, that is his second bubble of the match so far, so we'll just have to remember that. Also keep note that I'm hitting Menacing Roar every time it's up. I'm doing that to keep the tactical defense debuff on him so that my shouts are doing extra damage, which is extra helpful whenever I get any crits. Alright, that was Dire Need right there, so that is one cooldown down. Alright, I do go ahead and drop the Banner of Terror right there. I want to just go ahead and seal this. Also, I am low on power right now, so I want to make sure he's not going to kill me while I'm low on power. That said, I'm really not too worried, and I did drop the Banner of Terror mostly just to make sure that my win was secure. Once again, I've got his back. And still have his back. Alright, I popped my power pot, so now I'm going to go for it and see if I can finish him off right now. I went ahead and popped the heal there. He's down very low. He could pop his mad heal, prolong this a bit further, but I don't believe that he's going to. And down he goes. Alright, second fight is Skywalker. If you notice his buff bar, he is using a couple Destiny Point perks, and he also has scrolls popped. And right there, store-bought power potions, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, he is using real-life money to try to fight me. I did go ahead and challenge him to this fight because I saw he was just sitting there on the sidelines, and I was feeling a bit overconfident. I was like, "Oh, Guardian, yeah, I'm pretty good against Guardians. He's got the buffs, but there's only 5 minutes left on those. I'm not going to worry about popping my own buffs to try to combat his or anything like that. I'm just going to go at this and see how I do." Yeah. Really should not have done that. I should have either waited for his buffs to wear off, or also, I did this without Banner of Terror because it's still on cooldown from when I popped it during that champ fight. But I should have waited a bit longer. I have gone into Commander stance. I'm still got Aura of Command up. This is how I've fought Guardians all throughout Siege of Mirkwood era and Update 3 onwards, stuff like that. He has used Brutal Charge offensively. Many Guardians do not do that, which is a mistake on their part. But he actually did. That was a very big boost to him. And there he goes, he gets the kill on me. Alright, well I decide, okay, I'm not going to wait for his buffs to go away. I'm going to wait for my Banner of Terror. I'm going to try this again. I'm actually going to give him the Banner of Terror. We'll see how this goes. The other thing I decided to do is I go ahead and turn on Defensive Aura so that I can tank him a bit better. And so away we go. Alright, I'm just waiting a little bit here before I'm dropping my Banner of Terror. I want to make sure that I'm going to shut down his power pool by quite a bit. There it goes. Notice he is once again using store power potions. And now I'm in Commander stance and it's off to the tank fight. So it's going to be a brutal little slog for a while right now. I'm going to keep my movements fairly controlled. I messed up my movement right there and didn't get my heal off. But basically I'm just going to dump tactical attacks at him whenever I can, and otherwise just keep things pretty controlled. Alright, do get the crit there, so that means I'm going to go ahead and do a quit whining and fight. And I got some distance, so pop another heal, keep this thing going. Alright, Banner of Terror has about 20 or so seconds left. He should be running out of power completely before it's gone, although he is still using those store power pots to keep himself in this fight, but his power consumption levels are also not helping him out very much. He went ahead and used a 1-minute cooldown skill to get some extra power there. Banner of Terror is now gone, so this is basically just wait for him to run out of power and then work on finishing him off. Taking off basically half of his health bar, and his power is gone, so that's all that this really is coming down to. Alright, his power is gone. The store pots are not doing anything right now. That was the Thrill of Danger cooldown. That is an 8-minute cooldown, untraded. There's no legacies for that particular cooldown. He could reset it, but that's about it. Store pot came up once more. Alright, waiting for my health pot to come off cooldown. Didn't get any crits there. But because his power is so low, I'm just going to go ahead and pop off my heals anyway. In the background, you do notice that there's a burglar and a spider going at it. Basically, there's 2 to 3 people fighting at all times during this entire time period. It was a standard lugs res shuffle, but then I don't know exactly who started it, but someone decided that it should turn into a bunch of fight clubbing and 1v1s, and so it did. Alright, he has used his cooldown, Warrior's Fortitude. That just wore off, but that was basically a heal and open up some reactives. Okay, Power Pot just came off cooldown, so I need to get some heals off right now if I'm going to survive through this. His power levels are pretty low, but my health levels are also getting pretty low. I'm just trying to get off some heals so I can actually stay in this. I got a crit right now, and I lose power for some reason. I don't know how or why. I got a power pop back up. I could have hit my crack the whip, but I didn't. I missed that. So I'm not sure exactly what happened there, why my power suddenly went down. I had plenty of power for my quit whining a fight, and then he hit me and my power was gone. As far as I know, there's no Guardian skill that actually does that, but whatever. So, next up, I challenged the Burglar, who you saw fighting that spider in the background earlier, because I'm really not going to bother with the Guardian right now, because he is using a lot of store power pots, and without those I could take him down pretty easily. Alright, Burglar came. I go ahead and I use a root pot to do damage to me to wipe out the mez, rather than my stun pot, so that I have that in backup. Once again, I'm not going to drop Brawler's stance, because doing that is typically suicidal against a Burglar. So I'm going to try to fight this entire thing out in Brawler's stance. I went ahead and dropped Banner of Terror right there, so that I can get him debuffed, keep a lid on his damage, and it allows me to put some extra hurt on him, because it does take away from Will and Fate and such, and that typically affects some mitigations on most classes. As you can see, I'm putting a lot of damage on this guy with my crits. He does not have very high shadow mitigation, or tactical rather. So I really am just taking a huge bite out of his health. Alright, got him debuffed right there, and this will finish it if it crits, but it does not, so I go in for the melee kill. And finished him with the auto attack, but Black Speech fired off anyway. And Burglar down.
Alright, here we go with the champion once more. He challenges me to this fight. I don't seek him out because I already know how badly I can kill him. But he wants a rematch, so I decide to oblige him. This time I do decide I'm not going to use the Banner of Terror whatsoever. And my goal is to not drop Brawler's stance, not drop our command, and only use the command post, which has no cooldown. And then just beat him with superior maneuvering. Also, I'm going to be hitting Menacing Roar every time that it's up to keep him debuffed, and I'm just going for a DPS burn. I'm not doing a super fast burn where it's going to wipe out a ton of my power, but I am doing a pretty hard one where I'm going to keep a fairly steady pace as far as I can. Now, in addition, I had been watching Tailmage fight, and I was just going to watch him do a fight. He's a warrior who's here, and he's a good friend of mine. And then he came up and challenged me, so I had music playing in the background when he came up and challenged me, and I didn't turn it off. So the music overwrites all the game sounds, so you can't hear anything except for me talking right now, unless I put something else in. So I just have to bear with that, because you can't hear any of the game sounds at all if I turn that volume up. Yeah, so just pay attention to the movement here, and try to focus on it without the distraction of music. He is on his second bubble right now, I believe. He's also used Controlled Burn, but if you notice, I'm still way up at the top of my health pool, so he's really not hitting hard at all. And actually, you know, the way that I'm maneuvering around him, there's really only one way to sum all this up. You're kiting right round, like a total spaz, running round, round, round. I'm taking his morale right down, gonna put his head down to the ground. You're kiting right round, running right round, like a total spaz, round, 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 round. We're kiting right round, running right around, run around, round, running around. Okay, I'm not gonna keep that up any longer. That's probably as close as we're ever going to get to a video where I just, you know, have a 1 versus 1 and put music up there like other people do on YouTube. Yeah, well, I think we've all seen those before. Not counting that through the Palantir host fight, because that is something entirely different, and yeah, that doesn't get categorized with my Warleader videos. That was something else entirely. Right. Notice I am now down at the bottom of my power pool, so now it has become a fight of power management. Basically, with the command post down, my power ticks give me roughly 90 power per tick, so that's 90 power every 5 seconds, because it's a 5-second interval between regeneration ticks. So with 90 power, I'm able to fire off a heal, typically, or fire off a intimidating shout, or I could use a cleave. And so basically the goal is figure out which ones do I want to use. By the way, that was bubble number 5, if I remember correctly, so he's up to 5 bubbles now. And I believe he's also used Dire Need, or he's going to use it very soon here. But power regeneration anyway. Basically, if you keep yourself moving like this, so you're not standing in melee range a whole lot, with the temptation to use a whole lot of attack skills there, cleave and fracture mostly, then it allows you to manage your power fairly well. 2 ticks will give you enough power to fire off Black Speech. 1 tick typically puts you in range for a heal, or just slightly under that, and then your second tick will put you well over the amount that you need for your heal. So the goal here is just to keep a decent rotation going between using a shout and using heals, and just keep yourself alive for that. Right now, he is very close to death. He is under 1,000 health. I believe he's going to use a health pot and something else and just get a whole bunch of health back right now. I dismissed my banner because I thought I had him because he was at 900, but now all of a sudden I see he's at 2,000 and he's popped another bubble. Maybe this is number 5 and I got ahead of myself. It's 5 or 6 right now. But I realized, getting rid of the command post, stupid idea. That's a stupid risk. Put it back down. I'm not going to do that again. That was my overconfidence getting the better of me for a little bit, but now I've got it back under control. And also, if you notice, the music that I had been playing when I fought this has finished, and it's not continuing on to any other tracks or anything, so you can now hear game sounds again. Alright, fight. He just got a massive heal right there. I'm not totally sure what ability that was, but it did a bunch of damage to him. Then he hit me and got a whole bunch of health back. So I don't think that was bracing attack, because bracing doesn't heal that much, if I remember correctly. There is bubble number 6. And so in just a moment here, he will be finished. I should be getting him with the melee attack right there. And there we go. Alright, and now Lore Master. I decided I'm going to go ahead and try out my skills against the Lore Master. Lore Masters have been the easiest fights for me forever. If you go to the forums and such, then you're going to go see a lot of people saying that all you have to do is power drain, but it really doesn't work. Also, that tail I just got, Tailmage and I went 2 or 3 rounds with each other where we were just fought each other just for fun, and I meant to record them. I forgot to hit the record button every single time, so I don't have any of those fights. They were really fun. Maybe we'll get to fight again sometime and I'll actually record it then, but those were some fantastic little bouts that we had, and man, I wish that we hadn't missed them. Alright, see now, here he goes. He goes, I'm going to just power drain him. This is going to be great. I'll finish him off. Fracture, interrupted. I don't even need to interrupt him, by the way. I've killed Lore Masters a long time without the interrupt, and now he's just in trouble. He's half health already. See, the interrupt is not crippling. The power drain is not crippling enough, okay? The real problem that Lore Masters have fighting a Warleader is fourfold, okay? They can't burst you down because their big damage skills all have cooldowns, and like right there, it can be resisted. So you can survive it, and you got great mitigations and a great health level as a Warleader, and then you're going to heal back up. So they can't really burst you down. He's trying to kite right now. Once upon a time, this would have worked against me, but way back in Moria, and I've been, let me just say, the first 1v1 I ever won was against a Lore Master. I was rank 4 back in Moria when I did that, and I didn't kill him because he started to run away, and then a ward showed up and finished him off for me, but I definitely outfought him, and that was my first 1v1 ever. So since Moria, I've been taking Lore Masters down. The kiting worked on me one time back in Moria. I learned my lesson. I got killed because I pursued the guy for too long and let him dot me up. But this is Isengard. I can heal on the run. I've got the Quit Whining and Fight Brawler in Brawler stance that's always usable on the run. That does basically, that takes care of almost all the dot damage just by itself. If I hit him with a critical with Intimidating Shout, he gets slowed and then I catch up to him. If I get a critical with any shout, then I've got another heal available, and so he can't kite me. He can't tank me because he's light armor, and he can't heal himself. Dead Lore Master. End of story. Alright, now Skywalker decides to challenge me again. I guess he's feeling really good about himself. And since he doesn't have his scrolls or anything up, I decide, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and do this one more time. So off we are. I should be in R of Defense. I am in R of Command. I just switched out right there. And I'm already ready for the tanking slog that this is going to be. Alright, Banner of Terror down. Going to start chewing into his power pool and regeneration rates. And I just took a crit right there. That interrupted one of my heals, so that was not good for me. Definitely bad timing to get a crit. Alright. Still, his power level, he's at 1000 right now, so should be able to keep this up as long as he stops getting crits. But he just got a crit right there, another stun, cut out my heal. That was big right there because that gave him a chance to get a couple more thousand off me without me healing it up immediately. And that's what he needs to be able to actually stand a chance here. There went his power pot, so now I'm in a bit of trouble. If he manages to pump out a bunch more damage, I'm gonna just eat it. There are those two power buffs again. Okay, I've been calling those power pots from the store because it looks just like the store icon, and from what I remember last time I saw it, there was Thrill of Danger for extra power. I'm not totally sure those are actually the store power pots. I'm going to keep calling them that right now because I don't know of anything else that has that kind of effect. But the thing that makes me doubt that it might be store power pots is because the store power pot, I believe you can only have one of those ticking at once, and he keeps getting two. There I got critted again, so now I'm going to go down because he got very lucky with crits multiple times. He's gonna be right on top of me very soon here. I've got my health pot just a little bit further from being off cooldown, but I'm just not going to be able to survive long enough to get it off. If I hit my run speed buff, I could possibly survive a little bit longer, but I didn't, and so that's that. So basically, the Guardian, I don't know what he's got, but he's the only guy so far in Rise of Isengard who's been able to do that to me as a Guardian. Otherwise, Guardians, fighting them goes just the same as it did pre-Rise of Isengard. I typically just tank through their damage burst, they run out of power, and then either they run away or they stick it out and die. And that's all there is to it, really. For a Warleader, a Guardian is not a super tough matchup if you know what you're doing. I don't know what those buffs were. As I said, I'm going to keep calling them the store power pots, but those power pots were what kept him in the fights all the time, because without those things he would have been out of powers just so much sooner in all of the fights. In that last fight he got very lucky with his crits. A couple of them happened at the perfect time for him, interrupted me in the middle of a heal, and then he gets some extra damage off while I'm stunned, so that worked out perfectly for him. So he got a bit lucky there. The other thing that happened was, as I mentioned in that second fight, sometimes his attacks randomly subtract power from my power pool. I don't even know what in the world is doing that. So, yeah. Other than that, what did I want to say? I had something to say. But, I'm not overly concerned about this, because I am a rank 8 Warleader, and in that second fight where he was buffed up, I did a fantastic job. He still had both of his scrolls up for basically the entire fight. I think they wore off close to the end there. But without those scrolls, it's very conceivable I would have won that fight. If I were to have popped scrolls in one of the earlier fights, could have been a different story too. More importantly though, I'm only rank 8. I hit rank 9, I'm going to have 2 more heals available for me. I'm going to have next level battlefield promotions, and then, it's going to be an entirely different game in terms of that matchup right there. And we'll see what happens at that point. Oh yeah, and of course, the other thing is, we still have the armor mitigation bug. Yes, the Warleader is the best off out of all the classes in terms of not suffering as much, but hey, I'm still missing mitigations. Come on. I want extra armor. I'll take it. Uh, anyway, important stuff to note. As I said with the important things to note. Once more with the burglar fights, fight them from brawler's stance. Don't bother with anything else. If they can beat you in brawler stance, they're gonna beat you in commander stance, and if you could beat them in brawler stance, then you're gonna be able to beat them in. And if you could beat them in commander stance, then you're gonna be able to beat them in brawler stance anyway. So there's no reason ever to drop into commanders for a fight against a burglar. At the same time, commander stance is fantastic against heavy armor guys. Lets you tank their damage pretty effectively and keep up your heals. Against lore masters, typically what you're gonna do is start out in brawlers, and then if they get lucky with their crits or are just hitting exceptionally hard, transition over into commander stance and tank their damage and keep on putting shouts on them, because they don't have effective ways to recover health after you're taking it off of them. All you need is a couple crits and a single black speech crit on a light armor target like that. With the way that their regeneration and healing goes, it'll just take them a long time, and you'll have already got off a couple more shots, even with the 20-second cooldown so you have in commander stance. And also, if they're standing still, close into melee range and let them have it. That's all there is to the lore master fight. Just remember to interrupt the power drain and keep your power pot in reserve for right after the power drain ends. Hit the power pot. You're never going to have any problems. And if they do manage to power drain you very effectively, commander stance, aura of defensive aura, power management, keep yourself alive with judicious use of crack the whip, and close in for melee attacks. You can keep fighting like that for a very long time, as long as you're built decently, and just shock them by the fact that power draining didn't actually work. Contrary to the wisdom of the forums, a Warleader is actually harder to kill than just power drain, and then it's easy. No. Alright, gonna have to do some editing there. But that is all for this time. I've got even more stuff to show you guys, so more videos coming very soon. But in the meantime, good luck and have fun out there. Ugmog is out.